Hello and welcome to Let's Talk, a series of podcasts produced by the Hazel and Betty Ford Foundation on the issues that matter to us and the issues that we know matter to you too. Substance use disorders, research, prevention, treatment, and recovery support. I'm your host, William Moyers, and today we're on the road here at the Betty Ford Center in Rancho Mirage, California. I cannot think of a more appropriate place to be for the topic of today's podcast, when a child grows up with addiction. And nobody knows this subject better than our two guests today, Jerry Moe and Helene Photias. Welcome to both of you for being here today. Thank you.
It's great to be with you, William.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. You've been making such a difference for a long time right here on this campus in Rancho Mirage. Jerry, explain the history of the children's program here at the Betty Ford Center.
Well, when Mrs. Ford opened the Betty Ford Center, she always believed that alcoholism and drug addiction are a family disease and that we need to treat the whole family. So right from its humble beginnings, 1982, the center has always worked with boys and girls. At the beginning, informally, and then in 1996, a full-time program with a dedicated staff. And here we are today.
Helene, how did you get to the children's program?
Well, you know, I came here about 12 years ago, and I just wanted to work with children. So I started off working in the children's program with Jerry and other staff and have been there ever since. Just wanted to be around those kids.
So why is it important to work with the children of alcoholic parents or grandparents? What is the approach that you take? Because these are very young children, right?
These are children between the ages of 7 and 12. You know, why do we do this work? We know that alcoholism and drug addiction runs in families. And throughout our Hazel and Betty Ford treatment locations, whenever I do a lecture with patients in treatment, all levels of care, I ask how many of them had grown up in a family with alcoholism or other drug addiction. William, 75 to 80% of the hands go up.
That many, wow.
That many. So these are boys and girls at risk. And how can we break that intergenerational cycle of addiction?
But what happens when the parent is still in active addiction using substances? Is it possible for the child to come to the children's program even if their parents don't want them to, or do you need permission, Helene, for them to come here?
Right. We do. We need permission from at least one nurturing adult to bring a child to our program. And many times what we're noticing is, of course, there's still active addiction in the family, whether it be one parent or both parents. You know, we're working with children who are sometimes not even living with their parents anymore for different circumstances. So being able to get them to our program, sure, someone needs to say, yes, this child can come. And we're really looking for that adult, that nurturing person who will not only come to the program with them, but then stay with them afterwards and continue to build those skills that we're teaching.
Now, keep in mind that with boys and girls who are living with active addiction, they might need us even more. For someone to explain to them that it's not their fault, for someone just to teach them what addiction is, to create a safe place and give them opportunities to share their worries, their fears, their concerns, to find out they're not the only one, that they're not alone, and then to help them begin to see who are the safe people in their life that they can turn to for support and guidance, even if mom and dad stay active in their illness.
But what do you mean that message about it's not your fault? Is it that children think that their parents' addiction is their fault, Helene?
Sure, we'll see that on many levels, but at its simplest form, a child will think that even the smallest things maybe cause their parent to have a drink or use drugs. It could be things like fighting with a sibling, or not doing well in school, or not doing their chores. At the simplest form, they just want their parents to be happy, and when they're not, and no one's talking about what's really going on, a child will start to believe that, well then, it must be something that I've done.
So that silence piece of not talking about it, walking around on eggshells, that's a big component of what you're out to attack or get rid of, right?
You know, Dr. Claudia Black, a real pioneer in our field, William, taught us years ago that to survive, boys and girls learn don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. This allows them to stay alive. And yet, when they come to work with Helene and her team, whether it's in Minnesota, our Hazelden Betty Ford Children's Program in Minnesota, or Colorado, or here at the center, what are we asking the boys and girls to do? Well, trust us. We're safe adults. And talk to us and tell us how you feel. And the miracle, and I'm always amazed by this, William, the miracle is boys and girls do that. They're desperate to do that. And that's when the changes begin to take place.
So how does that change actually occur, though? When you experience it, when you witness it, the young people come in that first day, they must be apprehensive or nervous or silent or not certain what they're doing there. How do you work them through that process, Helene?
Well, we walk slowly and we let them lead.
You walk slowly and you let them lead.
Absolutely. You know, every child's completely different, coming with a different set of circumstances and feelings and abilities. We meet them where they're at and we guide them. So a first day really might be just about playing and engaging and helping them really build some bonds with the other children. And like Jerry mentioned, starting to realize, I'm not the only one. Right? And once you start to realize you're not the only one, you start to realize, well, maybe it's okay to talk about this as well. And that's when we start to give them some tools that will allow them at their own time, their own pace, and their own ability to be able to either talk about what's going on. And we use other tools as well. If they're not comfortable talking, perhaps they start to feel comfortable with drawing about it instead, or writing about it. And we'll simply ask them, how's addiction been in your family? What's really going on? And they'll start to do this amazing work through drawing and writing.
And the key is building relationship.
Yes.
7 hours a day with boys and girls.
7 hours.
And we never take a break.
I was going to say, you must be exhausted by the end of the day.
Well, we are, but also exhilarated to watch changes take place. You know, boys and girls don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. So we build relationships. And if you think about it, it's not just a children's program. I mean, children's programs are awesome, but it's really a child-centered family program that we're doing, because the adults benefit just as much from the boys and girls. So if it's not an all-day process, you can't build that relationship. You can't get them to begin to trust. And the staff love kids so much, and they're dedicated, and they bring passion and compassion, and that relationship is the key for them to begin to move forward.
I'll never forget, I know it's a serious topic when addiction comes calling in the family, when addiction presents itself in terms of its impact on the child. There can be nothing more serious than that. But my first experience with the children's program here at the Betty Ford Center was when I was walking across the campus one fine summer day, or maybe it was wintertime, but it's always nice out here, and I could hear this incredible exuberance coming from the pool. They were having fun. The children were all in the pool having fun. So fun is a component of this very serious approach. Yes, Helene?
Absolutely. You know, we're climbing into a child's world, and really that's about having fun and just being a kid. So all of our components, there really involves some type of fun, playfulness, and we really bring it down to a child's level, whether that's through language or even quite, you know, just sitting on a floor with a child as well. You know, literally just getting to their level and becoming a child with them, having fun. Exactly.
For a child to experience the Hazel and Betty Ford Children's Program, do they have to have a parent who is actually in treatment at that moment or has been in treatment?
No, the program is really open to all boys and girls. And William, if you think about it, 10% of people who have a substance use disorder ever make it to treatment. So if this program were only for children of patients, 90% of those boys and girls we would never see. And so open to all boys and girls as long as there's that family history of addiction, 7 to 12-year-olds, because we want to reach them before they take that first drink or that first drug, which creates addiction for so many of them when they have that biological predisposition coupled with psychological hurt and pain. So open to all boys and girls. We have community groups that take place right on the campus of Center City, or the Betty Ford Center, or our program in Aurora, Colorado, right outside of Denver. But we also do school programs.
Tell me more about those school programs. How do you get into the schools?
Yeah. Our school programs are really important because, like Jerry said, we want to make sure we get to the children that may not have a chance to get here, whether their parents are in treatment or not. So we work very closely with the communities, with the districts, with the principals at the schools, and most importantly is working with the school counselors. They're really the ones who identify what's going on with a child while at school, because most children who are having a problem with addiction in the home will also be affected at school. They might not be studying as well, might not be able to engage in just playtime and in having fun with other kids. So what we want to do is, with the help of those school counselors, be able to get in there when they're identified. One of those nurturing adults will allow us to come by signing that release for us to come there. And then we spend 4 amazing days at the school. We're literally on the campus, playing with the kids at recess time, having lunch with them, again, building that bond from the very get-go, and using a lot of those same tools that allow us to climb into their world and teach them some skills about resilience.
I was in a school program 2 weeks ago, and I don't get to do very many programs anymore.
You're so busy running.
Well,
as a
no,
national director, I mean, you're the
well,
national director.
But I'll tell you, with Helene Photias as director of operations, what she does, amazing.
She does the hard work.
Amazing. 9 boys and girls in an elementary school.
So hold on, so just 9 in the whole school. How did those 9 get into that program in that school?
School counselor and the principal initially determine which boys and girls would benefit.
You don't go and just pick them.
No. These are very carefully thought out. But I'll tell you, as teachers who don't want to release their children for anything, they got to help them with their academics. Yeah. Once they begin to see boys and girls who've been in the children's program go back into the classroom, oh boy, do they have a few more referrals. Because kids go back in there. They're calm and they're sharing their feelings and they're not disruptive, and they just do so much better in school. So 9 boys and girls, only 1 was living with a parent. We had 5 of the boys and girls in foster care. The others were being raised by grandparents. So these are boys and girls that could never get to the center. And no one would ever bring them here, and yet being able to learn that it's not their fault. And they're not alone, and that there are people who care about them. And then the way the program has been designed is that the school counselor will follow up as necessary with the boys and girls, and we will go back to the school usually at the end of the year to do a stage 2 program where we do a follow-up program for boys and girls who've been with us.
And that's so wonderful. What we really get to see when we go back is this transformation with many of the children. You know, you imagine at first when we go there, they're apprehensive, they're not sure whether they should open up or not. And when we go back a few months later to do this stage 2, which is really like a booster shot if you think about it, right? Just some more supplemental information, a revisit to some other things that we had done with them before. You really see this change in them. They're more willing to open up. They're used to the activities, they know us well, and the great thing that we also notice is that they've created these bonds with the other kids where they first thought, there's no one else like me, I am alone. And now even realizing at a place where, you know, they go to school to do math and science, it's also a place that once they find a safe person, which may be a principal, a teacher, a yard duty, that they build this confidence in being able to go to someone and say, hey, you know what, I've been affected by something and I really need to talk. And that's what they get to do. And the stage 2 is a great opportunity, whether it's at the school or at our sites, that we bring those children back to stay connected, which is such a huge piece of what we do.
You know, I know from doing these podcasts that we've had a lot of loyal listeners and viewers, and we get a lot of reaction to these podcasts, but I can guarantee that we're going to get a tremendous response to this one, both because you all are so passionate and knowledgeable, but you're so passionate and knowledgeable on a vital subject, children recovering from their parents' addiction. I know we're going to get a lot of response, and people are going to want to know, how do they get into the program? What does it cost? What's the process for doing that, Jerry?
No child is ever turned away due to an inability to pay. Wow. This is something Mrs. Ford, that was her edict right from the beginning.
Everybody gets access.
Everybody gets access. Now, if you're able to pay something, we'll certainly be glad to take your money because you're getting this transformative program that makes such a difference. But we raise money all year round so we can make sure that we have those funds necessary to continue with our operations.
And when children come to the program, where do they stay? How are their needs taken care of while they're here, Helene?
Right. So most of them, when we're at a site, they'll stay at a local hotel with their adult or caregiver, and then they just come to our site every day like it would be a school day. We start early in the morning, we end in the afternoon, and they're usually ready afterwards. They're tired from working hard, playing hard. It's really been a great day. And you know, I will say one thing that I notice most is when kids come in the first day, they are scared. They are not sure of who we are and what we're going to do. And by that last day, there's so many emotions.
Yeah.
I'm sad, I don't want to leave, I finally feel comfortable, I've been heard, I've made great friends. You know, it is transformative for them, and we're so glad to be part of that.
Helene Photias and Jerry Moe, thank you so much for being vital components of our mission at Hazel and Betty Ford to help children overcome addiction. I know that many people will be inspired by what they've heard from you today, and hopefully they'll be able to find a safe harbor in what we offer here. So thank you both for being with us today.
Can I offer one last thing?
Always, Jerry.
Thank you, William.
Always.
Thanks for indulging me. So there's a lot of grown-ups who are watching this today. There's parents, there's grandparents, maybe even foster parents, maybe older siblings who've gone through treatment, wondering about repairing a relationship with a younger sibling. What I'd like to tell them is the greatest gift they can ever give to their children or their grandchildren is their own recovery. Whether it's from alcoholism, drug addiction, or as a family member. That is huge to give that to a child. Talk about changing the family legacy.
Yes.
But the second greatest gift is to give those children a chance to do their own healing. Yes. And so the children's program, we're always looking for more boys and girls to serve.
When a child grows up with addiction, when a child grows up into recovery. What a wonderful message that you all have given us today. Thank you very much. And on behalf of Helene Photias and Jerry Moe, I'm your host, William Moyers, and we thank you for joining us on this podcast, Let's Talk, a series of podcasts on the issues that matter to us and matter to that next generation. Please join us again.